Hello class. Now this is regarding a gist, or you can say a compiled version of unit 1, where we will be talking about what are the basics of computer, what is input process output model, what are its characteristics, what is hardware, what is software, and what are its devices. So let's just get started. Though I have already told you about these things, so this is a compiled version of etc. things. So computer is an electronic device, as you people are aware, very well aware, that it is an electronic device that receives input, it stores it, and then it processes the input as per the user's instructions, and then it is providing the output in a desired format. Now you people are aware that when we are giving the input, it should be in some different language. For example, it would be in some high level language. Now that has to be converted to machine language, and for machine language we have a variety of things, like we have compiler, we have interpreters. Compiler is doing it is converting HLL to ML in one go when I am talking of the compiler, and when I am talking of the interpreter, it is doing the same thing but line by line. Right, so this much we are already aware of. So that is the basic definition of computers. Then there is something known as input process output model. हम कंप्यूटर को या फिर CPU को input process output model भी बोलते हैं, because it follows this input process output model. Computer input is known as data, and the output obtained after processing it is based on the user's instruction, जिसको हम information बोलते हैं. So the raw facts and figures which could be processed further using certain arithmetic or logical operations to obtain an information. Now information is the useful data, and data is the raw data, right? So that is what actually is happening in input process output model. Then there are certain characteristics of computer. So you know that it's quite speedy. It can carry out 3 to 4 million instructions per second. Then accuracy, so it exhibits a very high degree of accuracy. Errors हो सकते हैं, but that would be again due to the errors that are being done by human errors. अगर हमें multiply करना है, for example 76 into 5, तो अगर मुझे मल्टीप्लाई करना है and if I am getting the result as 76 into 15, that means we have given some wrong input. Here the input is wrong, and when the input is wrong, definitely the output would be wrong. So it is a human error, and that is why the accuracy is not matched, but again it is the human error. Then it is reliable. Reliable means you can make the computer to work for lots and lots of hours without getting tired or without boredom. So that is why you can rely on it. Then it is versatile. Versatile means you can do a lot many operations, lot many things. आप बहुत सारा काम कर सकते हैं, from data entry to ticket booking to doing certain complex calculations, etc, etc. Then the storage capacity, so it can store very large amount of data at a fraction of cost of traditional storage of files, right? और ये भी कह सकते हैं, ये जो कंप्यूटर्स हैं ये इतना वेयर एंड टियर नहीं होता है, इतनी जल्दी थकता नहीं है. सो दीज आर, यू कैन से, certain characteristics of computers that you people should be aware of. Then we have hardware. Now what is hardware? Hardware is a collection of the physical components that constitutes a computer system. Moreover, hardware is something that could be touched or it is tangible. आप बोल सकते हो ये tangible है, आप इसको बहुत easily touch कर सकते हो. For example, monitor, mouse, keyboard, computer data storage, hard disk drive, system units, for example graphic cards, sound cards, memory, motherboard, chips. These are the physical objects that can be touched, so that is important. अब हार्डवेयर के लिए we have further things, like firstly we have a इनपुट डिवाइस. इनपुट डिवाइस हो गया या आउटपुट डिवाइस हो गया, ये कुछ पेरिफेरी होते हैं. मैंने बहुत बार क्लास में बताया है Periphery means these are the things that are being attached with the main computer, or you can say the main CPU. So input device is any peripheral device which is doing what, which is a piece of a computer equipment to provide the data and control the signals to an information processing system. For example, a computer or other appliance, कुछ भी computer से कुछ भी लेकर, like if you have a CPU is the main, you know, वर्किंग कंपोनेंट, उसके साथ आप कुछ भी लगा रहे हो, मॉनिटर लगा रहे हो, माउस लगा रहे हो, कीबोर्ड लगा रहे हो, ये सब उसकी पेरिफेरी में है, ये सब उसके आसपास कुछ लगाया हुआ है. कुछ फिजिकल डिवाइसेस हैं जिसको हम इनपुट आउटपुट डिवाइसेस में बोलते हैं, दैट कुड बी टच्ड, दैट इज़ अ हार्डवेयर पार्ट. एग्जाम्पल ऑफ इनपुट्स, that is keyboard, mouse, it is a pointing device. Everyone is aware of microphone from which I am speaking right now, that is a microphone. Again, it is an input device because I am speaking, I am giving an input and you people are hearing. Then touch screen, I am again using a touch screen right now, so it is an input. Scanner, web camera, now if I want to show you my picture at present, so I have to turn on my camera also, so that is again an input device. Touchpads, MIDI keyboard, and graphic tablets. So that was about input devices. Moving further to the components of CPU, as you people are aware now that what is a CPU? CPU is the main brain of the computer and it is responsible for doing all the functions and processes, right? So it is basically consisting of three main components. One is ALU, arithmetical and logical unit. It is going to execute all the arithmetic and logical operations. Now, what are arithmetic calculations? Like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Logical, where you are comparing the numbers, letters, special characters, they are the logical operations. And both of these are being controlled by a part known as ALU, arithmetical and logical unit. Then we have a control unit. Control unit, देखिए, वन पार्ट इज ALU, उसके बाद जो भी आपका रह गया दैट टोटली इज बीइंग कवर्ड बाय दिस कंट्रोल यूनिट. सो इट इज कोऑर्डिनेटिंग द कंप्यूटर components and controlling it. For example, it is reading a code for next instruction to be executed, incrementing the program counter, reading whatever the instruction is required, then it is providing the necessary data to ALU or registers, etc etc. ये पूरा का पूरा काम जो है, for example, if I will be telling you in a simpler way, for example, if I want you to open an application known as Word application, so that opening of Word application is some program to be executed that would be controlled by my control unit. Then you have the registers. Registers is, or you can say, you can also call it as a memory unit. Now that is storing the data that could be executed next, and it is very fast storage area, right? Now up till here we have understood the basics of computer. Now there is some important point over here, that is about the memory. Now memory is again of two types. One is RAM, that is known as random access memory. So it is a memory scheme within the computer. Now it is responsible for storing the data on temporary basis. Now this is important, that RAM is something that is temporary. What do I mean by temporary? By temporary, I mean that whenever, it could be erased. It could be erased very easily once the supply to the storage device is turned off. Sometimes it is also known as volatile in nature. Now, what do you mean by volatile? It means that the data will be erased once the supply to the main device is turned off. आप कुछ काम कर रहे हैं, करते करते if the लाइट्स जस्ट दे गेट टर्न ऑफ, तो आपका जो मटेरियल है, जो भी सामान है, दैट it gets erased. So that is the property of RAM. It is also known as random access. Now why do we call it as random access? Because you can access any memory cell directly if you know the row and the column to intersect at that cell. कुछ भी आप directly उसको access कर सकते हैं, so that is random access. Now again there is a part of primary memory, that is ROM, read only memory. Now read only memory is a permanent form of storage. Permanent form of storage का मतलब ये है कि that this is non volatile. Non volatile say I mean that the programs or the data would be remain there for a longer duration even after the power is turned off, right? The second part of hardware is output devices. Output device is any piece of computer hardware equipment that is used to communicate the results of the processing carried out by an information processing system. For example, a computer which is converting the electronically generated information into human readable form. आउटपुट डिवाइस में आपने जो भी इंस्ट्रक्शंस दिए हैं उसमें वो इंस्ट्रक्शंस पर काम हो जाने के बाद आप किस फॉर्म में उसको देखेंगे, सो दैट वुड बी डन बाय आउटपुट डिवाइस. द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ आउटपुट डिवाइसेस वुड बी मॉनिटर, एलसीडी प्रोजेक्शन पैनल्स जिस पे हम लोग क्लासेस लेते हैं वो सब प्रोजेक्टर्स, प्रिंटर्स. देन यू हैव COM, दैट इज कंप्यूटर आउटपुट माइक्रोफिल्म, प्लॉटर्स, स्पीकर्स, प्रोजेक्टर्स, एट्सेट्रा एट्सेट्रा. Right, so this was about the memory, and this is very important from your examination point of view. Then we have a concept known as booting. Next, let's move to booting. Now, what do you mean by booting? Booting is whenever you are starting a computer, it is known as booting. जब भी आप कंप्यूटर को ऑन करते हैं तो उसको हम उस प्रोसेस को हम बोलते हैं booting. Why it is known as booting? Because we are switching on the power supply, we are loading the operating system into the computer's main memory, and we are keeping all the applications in the state of readiness. हम सारे applications को ready कर देते हैं. And for this we are also, downloading something, and that is known as BIOS. Now that is also being involved over here. Now what is this BIOS? The first program or the set of instructions that would run whenever a computer is turned on, that is known as basic input output system. बेसिक इनपुट आउटपुट सिस्टम अगर आपके सिस्टम में नहीं है तो आपका कंप्यूटर रन नहीं करेगा. इट इज़ ऑल्सो नोन एज अ फर्मवेयर. व्हाट इज़ अ फर्मवेयर? दैट इज़ अ पीस ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर परमानेंटली प्रोग्राम्ड इनटू हार्डवेयर. उस हार्डवेयर के अंदर हमने ये परमानेंटली प्रोग्राम कर रखा है. सी, सो इफ़ अ सिस्टम इज़ ऑलरेडी रनिंग, अगर आप एक सिस्टम जो पहले से ही चल रहा है एंड इफ़ इट नीड्स टू बी रीस्टार्टेड, नॉट जस्ट योर सिस्टम, योर मोबाइल फोन्स ऑल्सो, उसको हम बोलते हैं रीबूटिंग. रीबूटिंग और बूटिंग में एक फ़र्क ये है कि रीबूटिंग में देर इज़ नो नीड ऑफ रनिंग द बायोस अगैन. बायोस दोबारा रन करने की ज़रूरत नहीं होती है. rebooting may be required if a software or a hardware has to be installed or the system is usually slow. अगर आपका सिस्टम हैंग कर रहा है, कुछ भी कर रहा है या आपके फ़ोन के साथ भी ऐसा होता है, then you need to reboot your device. So while rebooting, this particular program BIOS need not to run again and again, right? Then आप two terms बहुत commonly सुनेंगे. One is cold booting, another one is warm booting. Now what is this cold booting? See, when the system is getting on for the very first time, we call it as cold booting. So that is what we have mentioned here. When the system is started by switching on the power supply, it is called cold booting. The next step in cold booting is the loading of BIOS. जो BIOS है वो इसमें लोड होता है. बट व्हेन आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ द वार्म बूटिंग, इसका मतलब क्या है? जैसे मैंने अभी आपको रीबूटिंग में बताया था, योर सिस्टम इज़ ऑलरेडी रनिंग एंड इट नीड्स टू बी रीस्टार्टेड. हैंग कर रहा है, स्लो है, आप रीस्टार्ट करते हो, उसको हम बोलते हैं वार्म बूटिंग. वार्म बूटिंग ऑब्वियसली कोल्ड बूटिंग से फास्टर होता है. क्यों? बिकॉज हेयर द बायोस नीड नॉट टू बी रीलोडेड. यहाँ पर हम बायोस को रीलोड नहीं करते. वी आर नॉट डूइंग सो, एंड दैट इज़ व्हाई इट इज़ क्वाइट फास्टर एज कम्पेयर टू कोल्ड बूटिंग. आप जानते ही हैं, फर्स्ट टाइम सिस्टम को ऑन करते हो ज़्यादा टाइम थोड़ा लगता है. सिस्टम ऑन है, उसको रीस्टार्ट करते हो उतना टाइम नहीं लगता है. वो क्यों नहीं लगता है? बिकॉज ऑफ दिस लोडिंग एंड अनलोडिंग ऑफ बायोस, राइट? Then there is a small topic involved over here, that is about software. So we have basically the bifurcation is there. We have two types of softwares. One is system and another one is application, as you can see here. But there is something else known as a utility software, and that is for the maintenance of the complete system. So when I'm talking of the system software, now system software is something that is taking charge of the entire system, that would be responsible for the complete functioning of the system. right? So that is what I have mentioned here, that software required to run the hardware parts of the computer and other application software are known as system software. System software is actually acting as an interface between the hardware and the user applications, right? And it is of you can see it with an example. The example is Windows. So Windows is an example of the system software, where what you are doing, you are loading the operating system, you are loading the language processor, you are loading the device drivers, etc., etc., and that would be whole soul responsible for the complete functioning of your system, right? But when I'm talking of the application software, so that is a software that performs a single task. एप्लीकेशन सॉफ्टवेयर एक वक्त में एक ही काम करेगा और कुछ नहीं करेगा, उसको बोलते हैं एप्लीकेशन सॉफ्टवेयर. फॉर एग्जांपल वर्ड प्रोसेसिंग, स्प्रेडशीट, प्रेजेंटेशन, DBMS, मल्टीमीडिया टूल्स. वर्ड प्रोसेसिंग से मेरा मतलब है MS वर्ड, स्प्रेडशीट से मेरा मतलब है एक्सेल, प्रेजेंटेशन से मेरा मतलब है पावर पॉइंट, DBMS मैनेजमेंट से मेरा मतलब है कोई भी सॉफ्टवेयर, SQL ले लीजिए, NoSQL ले लीजिए, MongoDB ले लीजिए, कुछ भी ले लीजिए. मल्टीमीडिया टूल्स से मेरा मतलब है Corel Draw, where you are dealing with the multimedia features of a particular picture, right? And the third type of software is utility software. For example, antivirus. Utility software क्या होता है? Application software that assist the system software in doing the task, that is utility software. It is actually a cross between system and application software. Example, antivirus, disk management, file management, compression, and backup tools, right? Then the next topic is the classification of computers. So, depending upon the size and the power, we can have a variety of computers. We can have personal computer, workstation, mini computer, main computer, and supercomputer. Personal computer is a small computer based on a microprocessor. Workstation is a single user computer just like a personal computer, लेकिन इसमें थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा पावरफुल प्रोसेसर लगा होता है. मिनी कंप्यूटर जो है वो 10 to 100 नंबर ऑफ यूज़र्स एक साथ सपोर्ट कर सकता है. देन वी हैव अ मेन फ्रेम कंप्यूटर, ये हंड्रेड्स और थाउजेंड्स ऑफ यूज़र्स को साइमल्टेनियसली कर सकता है. एंड देन वी हैव अ सुपर कंप्यूटर. इट इज़ एन एक्सट्रीमली फास्ट कंप्यूटर दैट कैन परफॉर्म हंड्रेड्स ऑफ मिलियंस ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शंस पर सेकेंड. सो यू कैन से कि ये जो एरा चल रहा है ये आपके जनरेशन्स वाइज चल रहा है. With the increase of the generations, like right now we are in the 5th generation, so we are dealing with a supercomputer, which is actually an extremely fast computer that can perform hundreds of millions of instructions per second, right? Then the last topic for today, that is computer virus. A short topic. First of all, the very first thing जो आप लोग को नहीं पता होती है वो है वायरस का फुल फॉर्म. प्लीज नोट इट समवेयर. दैट इज vital information under seize. vital information under seize. आपके सिस्टम में जो भी वाइटल क्रूशियल इंफॉर्मेशन है वो खतरे में है. दैट इज अंडर सीज. सीज मतलब घिर गई है वो. सो वायरस इज अ स्मॉल पीस ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर दैट पिगी बैक्स मतलब अपने आप को बार बार कॉल करता है. दैट पिगी बैक्स ऑन रियल programs. For example, virus might attach itself to a program such as a spreadsheet, and each time that spreadsheet program runs, the virus runs, and there is a chance of reproduction or wreaking havoc. कुछ भी हो सकता है. So your vital information is under seize. अब इसकी बहुत variety है. For example, we have an email virus. email virus जो है वो it can travel as an attachment to the email messages, and it can replicate itself by mailing itself to dozens of people in the victim's email address book. Then we have a Trojan horse. Trojan horse एक program है, simple program. Now the program claims to do one thing. ये बोलता है कि मैं एक काम करूँगा, but instead it does damage when you run it. It may erase your hard disk. Now this is just an example. ठीक है. Trojan horses have no ways to replicate automatically. ये automatically replicate नहीं करता है, but ये एक बहुत dangerous सा आपका कंप्यूटर प्रोग्राम है जो बोलता है कि मैं ये करूँगा. it would say that I would open this application, but it is not opening, it is doing something else. Then we have a worm. Worm भी एक type of virus ही होता है. वर्म का भी आपको फुल फॉर्म पता होना चाहिए, दैट इज राइट वंस. ये जो छोटी छोटी बातें हैं ये पूछी जाती है एग्जाम में. रीड मेनी, राइट वंस, रीड मेनी. So again, it is a small piece of software that uses the computer networks and security holes to replicate itself. A copy of a worm scans the network. Now this is done with the help of the network. ये अपना रास्ता नेटवर्क के थ्रू से ढूंढता है, एक मशीन से दूसरी मशीन में, दूसरी मशीन से तीसरी मशीन में, तीसरे मशीन से एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. तो नेटवर्क से रास्ते ढूंढने को हम बोलते हैं सिक्योरिटी होल्स. सो इट ब्रेक्स द सिक्योरिटी होल्स एंड इट स्टार्ट्स रेप्लिकेटिंग फ्रॉम देयर so that a havoc could be created, right? So that is all for today. So I would say that unit 1 अब हमारा जो है इसमें हम लोग ने कंप्यूटर्स के बारे में बहुत कुछ सीख लिया. their components, their definitions, then their generations, then hardware software, and after doing the hardware software we have हार्डवेयर सॉफ्टवेयर में सब आ गया, इनपुट आउटपुट डिवाइसेस, यूटिलिटी एप्लीकेशन सॉफ्टवेयर एक्सेट्रा, और एक छोटा सा टॉपिक हमने वायरस के ऊपर किया. एंड यू हैव टू रेफर द प्रीवियस वीडियोस आल्सो. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट दिस इज अ कंपाइल्ड वीडियो which is carrying the complete syllabus. And that's all for today. We'll be continuing with unit 2 in the next session. Thank you class. Thank you.